Hello guys and welcome to the channel. Today we'll see the performance of a 3080 10GB version in ray tracing and see if it's still up to the task at the end of 2022. So let's see, ray tracing on or off, max settings. Let's see the configuration for this test run. So first game is Guardians of the Galaxy. I will run the tests with ray tracing on and ray tracing off, both with max settings and everything enabled, minus blur, chromatic aberration, and lens flares. So here you can see ray tracing on. We have good performance here, and the game looks amazing. And now let's see without ray tracing. As you can see here, we don't have ray tracing, and we could see some minor differences between some lightings there and the puddles in the water, but not a big difference there. Here we have ray tracing off as this section. I didn't see any difference between ray tracing on and ray tracing off. So as you can see here, ray tracing is on and nothing has changed. Now this part is ray tracing, as you can see here, and now it's disabled. So check to see the image difference between ray tracing on and off right now. As you can see, we have some minor visual improvement, but looks good. Here as well, you can see ray tracing, and here is without ray tracing. As you can see, we have lighting is a little bit different. Here we can see the results for the test run without ray tracing. As you can see, we have an every frame rate of over 150, so it's quite good here. I think this game is well optimized and runs well on recent hardware. And you'll see that if we enable ray tracing, we have really good performance. As you can see, the average is well above 100 FPS, and I think this is a great game to play with ray tracing. In this game, the GPU is not limited by the CPU, as this is something that is desired. This game runs really well on my current setup. Now let's see another game. So here we have Watch Dogs Legion. Here we will see again the difference between the ray tracing on and off with all maxed out. I usually don't prefer to have lens flare or blurs enabled. And now let's see the image comparison and the performance. So for this game, when ray tracing is off, my CPU is not the limitation here, as it can actually push the GPU to close to 100% utilization. But as you can see, this game uses a lot of memory here, as it's around 16 gigabytes of RAM. So when switching between ray tracing on and off, we don't see huge drops in performance, in the sense that we don't have dips. So I think the performance is smooth, but yeah, with ray tracing off, we have a little bit more FPS, but not by much. I played a bit the game, and I must confess that I like to play it more with ray tracing on than off. I think for these types of games, if you have above 60 FPS, the game feels good and you have a good experience. This part is with ray tracing off, but soon we'll have a part that has ray tracing enabled, and you can see the difference. So this part here changes to ray tracing, as you can see, and you can see the horse here with ray tracing enabled, and now you should see it without. I tried to choose the best scenes in order to highlight the ray tracing. And here as well you can see it's tracing off and now ray tracing on. And you can see that the difference here it's minor, if any. And now let's look at the results. First we have the run without ray tracing. As you can see, the average FPS is around 84 with a minimum of 40. Also this game uses around 8 GB of VRAM without ray tracing. And this is the results with ray tracing enabled. As you can see, we have a minimum of 27, but an average of 53. The 1% lows are above 40, so this is good. As you can see, the VRAM usage is close to maxing out. Here is the Hitman 3 graphic settings. So this game is a bit strange in the sense that, as you can see here, it runs quite well, but in some areas without ray tracing, we have low GPU usage. But the good part is that we have good frame rates. What I must confess is that I didn't see much difference between ray tracing on and off. I must confess that I looked properly and I checked it a couple of times, and for this benchmark I didn't see any difference. I was expecting more, as here you can see the light coming through the window, but with ray tracing on and off I actually didn't manage to see any difference. What I managed to see is some rays of light coming from who knows where. What is strange to me is the big difference in performance between ray tracing on and off. Here again we have a portion of the game that the GPU usage is below 100%, so this means that we have a CPU limitation in this part. Parts of this run are really CPU demanding and some of them are not. And I must confess that what I see right now, it's not mind-blowing. I mean, when it comes to ray tracing, at least in this benchmark, it's nothing. I played a bit the game and there are other parts of the game that look a little bit better, but not by much. So here we have low GPU usage, so this means that the CPU is the limiting part. Performance-wise, when it comes to ray tracing on and off, I think that performance drop-off is not worth it. I mean, the game looks good with or without ray tracing, and visual improvements when ray tracing is on are minor, but they are there. I must say that I was expecting a little bit more from a graphics point of view. When enabling ray tracing, the light that you see coming through the window is without ray tracing, and I think it looks nice. What I know is that for this game, ray tracing was added later, adding RT reflection and shadows and NVIDIA DLSS. So here is the result without ray tracing. As you can see here, we have a good overall score with a little bit over 130 FPS. What you can see here is a run without actually recording. Here we have the score with ray tracing on. As you can see, the difference is quite huge, coming from close to 140. So Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that I play a lot. One minor issue that I have with this game is gunfights. I find them a little bit weird, so to say. So this game was used to showcase NVIDIA's 30 series ray tracing capabilities. But I must confess that even with the 3080 at 1440p, with everything maxed out, the performance is below 40. There are some areas that actually can reach a little bit more, but usually it's around 40, 38 when playing the game. This is with ray tracing on and everything maxed out. But even with the performance drop-off, I believe that this game must be played with ray tracing. The neon lights, the reflection on the cars, the reflection puddles, everything. I think this game has to be enjoyed with ray tracing. And if your machine is not capable enough, you can actually enable DLSS or FSR and enjoy frame rate above 60 with both of them. I must confess that I prefer FSR over DLSS because I think there are some issues with DLSS here. The performance with ray tracing enable, it's kind of low in the sense that we are averaging at 38 with a minimum of 28. So as you can see here, the difference when we turn off ray tracing, it's not that much, but there is one. Now we are looking at Shadow of Tomb Raider, a game that added later on soft shadows. Here we have ray tracing enabled, and watch the fountain there, the water and her face to see the difference. So here we have only soft shadows. We don't have actual rays of light or other reflections. Here we see with ray tracing on, and you'll see that once we disable it, the difference is not that much, but look at the shadows on the leaves. This benchmark is really long, so I cut parts of it to just show where we have minor differences between ray tracing on and off. I must say that the performance with ray tracing for this game, I mean Shadows, is quite good. And I think that this game should be played with everything maxed out if you have the hardware for that. Now here you can see ray tracing on, and soon we will disable ray tracing and you will see the difference in shadows. It is a difference, not that much, but is there. Now check out the difference without. As you can see here, the shadows are a little bit more, I don't know, with ray tracing shadows on, I think they are softer, they are well defined, and I think it looks a little bit better. The performance with ray tracing on, as you can see here, is quite good. I mean, you can play it and we don't have any issues with it. When we disable ray tracing, we have a minor bump in performance, but I think it's worth it to try to play with everything maxed out. Here we have ray tracing enabled and ray tracing off for Far Cry 6, and here are the results for that run. This is with ray tracing enabled and this is without it. As you can see, the difference in performance is not that huge, so this game is better to play maxed out. So here we have the results, guys. I tried to put everything together. From there we have 3 runs, and here we have the average. These runs were executed without the recording, so we have only MSI afterburner running in order to have FPS on the screen. And I must confess that I was a little bit surprised about 2 things here. First, Hitman, you have a big difference when it comes to ray tracing on and off, as we have a big drop off in performance. Watchdog performance is acceptable with or without ray tracing, and Guardians of the Galaxy performs quite well. I mean, everything maxed out, looks amazing, and performs quite well. As expected, Cyberpunk is the most demanding game here, and because Shadow of Tomb Raider has only soft shadows, and Far Cry has implemented ray tracing, but I was not impressed. The games that impressed me the most when it comes to ray tracing were Guardians of the Galaxy and Cyberpunk. Here we can see the minimum frame rate between ray tracing on and off. And if we have dips below 30 per FPS, I think this is going to impact your gameplay, as I think games below 30 per FPS are unplayable. And if you reach that point, this means that you have to lower your settings. Now we can see the performance of ray tracing of the RTX 3080 in these games. As expected, Cyberpunk is the most demanding one, followed by, let's say, Watch Dogs, because I'm looking at the minimum frame rates, and then Hitman 3. The other games play quite well with tracing enabled, so I think for this PC setup it's worth the performance drop-off. So what is the conclusion here? I think that actually RTX 3080, even the 10 GB version, is still a capable card. And I think for 1440p with everything maxed out, you should not have any issues for the upcoming years.